So Nikki Haley gave a speech in preparation for a presidential run in 2024, and she took out a ladder and started swinging it at other Republican politicians' faces.
It pains me to see some of our friends turning their backs on our principles. They're similar to the frightened Tories Margaret Thatcher faced in 1980. You know what I'm talking about. The conservatives who claim capitalism no longer works. They conclude that economic freedom fails families and hurts workers. So they're trying to create a hybrid capitalism, a hyphenated capitalism. It's all a sham. Tear off the window dressing, and they're calling for more mandates, more rules, and more government control of the economy and our daily life. They want to create more welfare programs and accelerate government spending. It's unthinkable, but they're fine with less personal freedom and more government power. That's not capitalism. It's socialism-light. There was a time when conservatives understood that. In fact, there used to be a name for it. The quote, dime store New Deal. It's nothing more than bigger government, just not as big as the socialists want. Well, good luck with that. Conservatives will never outbid the left when it comes to growing government.
So let me first of all explain what she's doing there, and then I'm going to respond to the substance of it. So what she's doing is trying to set up a 2024 run, and she wants to define herself as, I'm the true conservative, I'm the original conservative, and I'm the believer in the Reagan principles of government. And so she's trying to distinguish herself from a Trump populist brand. But of course, as all of you know, Trump was a fake populist. He wasn't a real populist. He didn't deliver on any of the, populist head fakes that he did. In fact, he governed very similar to George W. Bush. His biggest legislative accomplishment was the 2017 tax cut bill, where 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. So, okay, I'm already sort of getting into the substantive angle of it. But just to be clear, she wants to set up a 2024 run, and she's already starting to try to push back against the populist wave among the people in the Republican Party, which that you could argue is more real, that actual Republican voters, a strong number of them, they see that the system doesn't work. And that's why when you poll them on the provisions of the Build Back Better bill, a lot of Republicans, sometimes a plurality, sometimes a majority of Republicans support, ideas like paid family leave, things like that. So this is a strategy that she's using, which 100% will not work. It will fail. And by the way, also, she's another person who has the personality of a dead goat. Now, the donor class loves Nikki Haley. They love her so much. But I don't think she has much of a chance in a populist anti-establishment era making that argument. So that's the strategy angle of it. Now let's respond to the substance of it. I would challenge Nikki to name one prominent Republican figure who actually believes the things that she says they believe there. She said they believe in Socialism-Light. So name one. Name one. Maybe you can make a stretch of an argument of she might say Josh Hawley is a good example. Josh Hawley was against the PRO Act, so he's anti-union. He was for so-called right-to-work laws, which are anti-union laws. It really just means right to work for less. He was against the $15 minimum wage. The only policy he was in favor of that was good was the $2,000 checks. His voting record, there was I forget who said this. Somebody made a great point about Josh Hawley. Sometimes he tweets like Noam Chomsky, but he votes like Mitch McConnell. And that's the truth. That's exactly what he does. So who exactly are you talking about, Nikki Haley? Is it a veiled shot at Trump? Okay, well, again, when you look at Trump's actual agenda, what he implemented, he was just like George W. Bush. So what are you talking? Or is she taking shots at J.D. Vance? J.D. Vance is another one of these fake populists who's running, who ultimately they end up doing what's called movement conservatism, which is Reaganomics, which is what the Republican Party has been beholden to for decades. So I would challenge Nikki Haley. Name one person who actually believes it. The only person who I think she is potentially accurately describing is not somebody who's a figure in elected office in politics, but I would say maybe Sagar Enjeti is actually honestly in favor of social programs, a better economic situation, and he also happens to lean right and be more socially conservative. Outside of him, it's a shadow movement. It's not real. It's all rhetoric and fluff because they know, hey, this is how we get votes. So if you're a Republican and you pretend to be in favor of the people and unions and higher wages and fixing the economy and looking out for working people, and then you also mix in the right-wing culture war stuff, those politicians are at least smart enough to know, hey, we're lying like a motherfucker, but it works, and we'll do better than these idiots who are still doing zombie Reaganomics. So again, through more of the substance here, she says, there are conservatives who claim capitalism no longer works. Really? Who? And I also, apparently she's unfamiliar with what social democracy is because she's like, there's socialism and socialism-light. As if on the spectrum, all you could be is either capitalist or socialist, or like capitalist, socialist-light, or socialist. So have you never heard of the term social democracy? Which, by the way, again, LOL at the idea that any Republicans believe in social democracy. She says that it's a misnomer to say that economic freedom fails families and workers. Really? From the 1980s and onward, there's been a total decoupling of worker productivity from wages. That is a colossal failure of the system. It is a massive failure of the system. And she says, no, that's economic freedom and it works well. And her definition of economic freedom would be hilarious, by the way, because economic freedom is when the business owner gets to tell all the workers exactly what they can and can't do, and that's the end of the conversation. That seems to be a version of corporate tyranny if you're more accurately describing it. But no, to Nikki Haley, that's economic freedom. She says these Republicans want to create more welfare programs. Again, who? I challenge you to name one who wants to create more welfare programs. Nonsense. Then she says they want less personal freedom and more government power. See, this one really gets under my skin. Because Nikki Haley is a drug warrior. Nikki Haley is socially conservative. You know what kind of freedom I'm in favor of? I'm in favor of social freedoms. I think you should be able to put in your body whatever you want to put in your body as long as you're not hurting anybody else. So in no serious way, if you're in favor of the drug war, if you're in favor of locking people up for weed use or selling weed, you're not in favor of freedom. And then beyond that, now let's talk about economics. In what sense are you really free if you go bankrupt from a healthcare bill? In what sense are you really free if you don't have a roof over your head? In what sense are you really free if you work a full-time job but you don't make enough money to survive and you have to listen to whatever your boss tells you? In no serious, meaningful sense are you free. But this is all viewed from the perspective of the owner class and the elites. And she is a defender of the owner class and the elites. And the final point is this. Guys, she's not even a true... You want to know who a true capitalist is? Ron Paul. Because he's like an anarcho-capitalist. He's like, look... If you fail, you fail. Everybody pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I'm not just talking to poor people. I'm also talking to rich people. So Ron Paul, to his credit, at least if like a Wall Street company fails, he'll say, you're not getting a bailout. Fuck off. Nikki Haley is the type of conservative Republican who would immediately turn around and do socialism for the rich and welfare for the rich. So she's a corporatist. The current existing hierarchy and structure in the country right now is the one that she would prop up with taxpayer money. So if a wealthy corporation that's well-connected and bribes politicians, if they end up making decisions that leads to their own failure, she would rush in and bail them out. Just don't ask for a bailout of homeowners or the people or working people or anybody at the bottom. That she thinks, oh my God, this is terrible. I believe in rugged individualism. But if you fail and you're already on top of the system, she'll let you loot the treasury. So Nikki Haley, in so many ways, she's horrendous. But this is what this is. She's leaning into, okay, I want to run in 2024, and this is going to be my lane. My lane is going to be, I'm the true capitalist, I'm the true conservative, and I'm not like the other socialist-light Republicans. Who? Trump was just like George W. Bush, how he governed. Ted Cruz, again, they're all just like George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. They're all just like Ronald Reagan. And by the way, the idea that like, no, seriously, that system works. The capitalist system works. Really? You got like one family, the Walton family, who has more wealth than the bottom 40 or 50% of the American people. That system works to you? Nikki Haley, you think this system works? You think the system works when 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck and half of workers make $30,000 a year or less and 30 million people don't have health insurance and 45,000 people up to that die every year because they don't have basic health care? That system works to you? That system works to you. The billionaires, increased their wealth by 70% since the pandemic as working people are stagnating. That system works to you? I've told you guys this fact before, but there was a Rand Corporation study that found that a fraction of the top 1% effectively has stolen $50 trillion from the bottom 90% since the 1970s. There was a time when CEOs only made 30 times what their workers made. Now it's over 300 times. And Nikki Haley looks at that and goes, right on. This is free market. This is capitalism. This is freedom, and I love it. No, you have totally sold out to the elites and the donor class and the corporations and the billionaires, and you're their pitch woman. That's what you are. And it's very clear. And the fact that other Republicans who believe the same things and act in the same way, they're not conservative enough. They're not pro-capitalist enough. So she wants to speed up our rush towards Armageddon. That's what she wants to do. And that video right there is just a pathetic but amazing example of it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.